Today we're going to be looking at setting up the valve clearances on a GL1100. So this is an 83 GL1100. First thing you need to know when you're doing this job, bike needs to be dead cold. Cannot be warm at all or it's going to totally mess stuff up. It's just not going to work out. Everything will be heated up and expanded to a point where a couple thou will be the error essentially. So bike is dead cold. So the steps we're going to do are, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the valve cover. I'll just do this on one side, it's the same for both. We're going to take out the timing plug back here, and we're going to take out the plug on the back side of the alternator here, so that way we can use that to turn the motor over. We'll turn each of the pistons until they're at top, so that their valve tappets are just loose, the rocker arms are just a little, they should be, you might not even see them move, but you'll just barely feel them or even hear a little clicking or whatever. When you do that, you'll know that that cylinder is ready to be adjusted. Intakes are adjusted to 4 thou. Exhausts are adjusted to 5 thou. So let's go ahead and start the process. So first things first, we're going to get those covers and caps and whatnot off so we can get at all the components we need to get at. So like I mentioned, we need a 17mm wrench, a flat top screwdriver, and the valve cover is held on with 10mm. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop that stuff off now. I just wanted to quickly show you guys where that timing cover came off. You can see inside there, that's the actual flywheel. So there are markings in the flywheel that show top dead center for cylinders 1 and 2. And then when you do a 360 with the motor, then the opposite 3 and 4 will also be at top. If you're not 100% sure, just go ahead and take your spark plugs out and rotate your motor around until you see the piston in the top of the cylinder, and you can just reach in and touch the top of it with a screwdriver. It's pretty straightforward. But either way, I'm going to get this set up now so we can go ahead and do the valve lash, I guess, on cylinders 2 and 4. One other easy way to determine whether or not your valves are fully seated or if they're actually being actuated, just turn them over. You can watch. So I was just doing that then. I saw this valve open up, so we know that this is currently on an intake stroke. So now if I look at number 2 here, I can see both tappets are just slightly loose. So now I'm going to get in there with my feeler and see what those clearances are and if they need to be adjusted. So my feeler gauge is here, and as I mentioned earlier, 4 thou on the intake, 5 thou on the exhaust. So we'll go, here's my 4 and here's my 5. Right here, my feeler gauges. If you don't have a set of these, it's worth your while to go spend the $15 and buy a set. Or you can probably get them even cheaper. But they're great. So right now, I know I should have a 4 thou gap up here. I got nothing. It's barely going through. On the bottom, same thing. My 5 is not going in there either. So I'm going to make that adjustment now. What we'll do is we'll loosen off this lock nut while we're holding on to the adjustment screw. So this is a 10mm wrench. Put that on here. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. So That's on really tight. Loosen that off. Bring this out a touch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 4 valve feeler and we'll slide it in between there. So now I can see that I'm there. That's good. As I bring this in, you'll see things start to catch. So like right there, this is where I'm not able to slide it. So it's just barely sliding. So if I hold that right there, come back in and tighten this up, making sure not to turn that internal screw. Nice and tight. Now you see 4 goes, or 5 should not. And the 5 will not go there. So we know that's a 4th valve gap. So that's currently gapped correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and put my wrench on, make sure my screwdriver's on my adjustment screw, holding that tight, and just make sure that's nice and tight. Come back and confirm that I didn't move that at all. My 4 just goes in, and a 5 will not. So now I know that that intake valve is gapped accordingly, or the latch here is gapped accordingly. So now we'll do the same thing on the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide out my 6 valve feeler gauge as my test once I set this to 5. So there's my 6 right here, 4, 5, 6. So as we already checked, the 5 will not go through. Go ahead and loosen this off. Now that we're loosened off, I should be able to adjust until my 5 goes. Here we go, 5 goes. 5 is just taut right now. So I have just a bit of drag on it there like so. Put our wrench back on. Make sure we're holding that screw in place. Tighten it up. Come back in with the 5. Just snug. Try to go in with the 6. 6 goes. We still have to snug it up a tiny bit more. Double check with our 5. 5 goes. 6 does not go. So now we know that that valve is adjusted correctly as well for the exhaust on this side. So I'm going to put our wrench back on, make sure we're holding that screw in place. Nice and snug. Come back in once more with a double check, triple check. 5 goes, just slides in taut. 6 will not go. So now we know that number 2 cylinder intake and exhaust valve lashes are adjusted correctly. And you just feel that little tick there now. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the rest of the cylinders. We'll just turn the motor over until we know that we're at the top and our valves are completely closed, make those adjustments, and I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to put the covers and whatnot back on. So that's the valve cover we installed on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put my plugs back in on this side, put the plug wires back on, and then I'm going to repeat the same process but on the right hand side of the bike for cylinders 1 and 3.